From the liquid metal core of the T-1000, it's the IGN Digigods. Now, here are two men who refuse to travel back to the past to save humanity because they didn't want to show their naked bums, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Our naked bums. Corey, that's a mouthful. Who sent us in that mouthful?
That mouthful was brought to you by Lenny Timmons.
Lenny Timmons sent us that. You know, speaking of naked bums, I once saw a naked bum on Sunset Boulevard.
Not somebody's naked behind.
No, but an actual naked bum.
You mean like a homeless man who was naked?
Yeah. But put that up. You're not speaking.
Oh, hello there.
Yeah. Tilt that microphone. Give me a little better angle.
Don't stop the recording.
I'm not stopping it.
Okay.
There you go.
How about that?
That's better.
All right. We've only been doing this for like 8 years. I think I would know that.
No, actually, it wasn't so much a naked bum. It was I think it was a woman. Even
a naked homeless woman.
Well, not naked. It was at the intersection of La Brea. I actually wrote a column about it. I was writing for Entertainment Today at the time, and I wrote a column about it. Which I still have a copy of, even though the publication doesn't exist anymore. But it was she basically dropped her drawers at the intersection of La Brea and Sunset and relieved herself with a number 2 right on a tree in front of a bus bench.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
By the way, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now I'm trying to set a new record.
Yes.
For number of online dates.
Okay.
You just turned me up, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Darn it. I'm trying to set a record for number of online dates in 1 week.
Okay.
I was going for 4.
Yes.
But I think I'll only get 3.
Wow.
I was going for 4.
Okay.
But you know what's funny? Just one. Okay, the thing with online dating.
You're a slut, aren't you?
I wish. It'd be great. It's like the problem is that it's like one date and out, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I set up a date with this girl, and I confirm on text. You talked to him on the phone.
Sure.
You
confirmed that she was a girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I confirm it the night before on text. I go, hey, still ready to meet, tomorrow at 7:30. See you there.
Right.
Now, I've never met this girl. It's a blind date.
Right.
It's online.
Sure.
She texts me back. She says, any chance you can pick me up so people don't figure out that we've never met before? Any chance you can pick me up so people don't figure out that we've never met before?
Right.
So I look at that, I'm thinking, so what?
Well, there's an embarrassment factor.
I said, well, first I texted back, and I'm reading this right off my phone.
Yeah.
I said, I had a feeling that's what it meant, so I was being a little passive-aggressive when I said this.
Sure.
But I texted back, I don't understand what quote-unquote people are you referring to when she says, so people don't figure out we've never met before. And then she texts back, people in the restaurant. So I text her back, so you're embarrassed to show you're embarrassed to show up to a restaurant by yourself for a blind date. And she says yes.
All right.
And then I texted her back, so is that worse than giving a stranger your home address to pick you up? So somehow she's too embarrassed to show up alone to a restaurant.
She trusts you. To
a restaurant for a blind date. But yet, she will give that very same stranger her home address to pick her up.
Yes.
That didn't make sense to me.
I know.
But at this point, I was getting a little pissed off. Yeah. So I said, so is that worse than giving a stranger your home address to pick you up? And she said, good point. So I wound up meeting her at the restaurant.
Yeah.
I just have to say that.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, tonight?
Yes.
Okay, now this was number 2. Now, I have a third one. I have a third one
We
tomorrow.
are going to talk about movies. I just want to assure everyone. We'll get to
probably
it.
Probably not. I have a third one tomorrow.
Yes.
Right? That one seems okay. Tonight's girl, so smoking hot that I'm waiting for the cameras. I'm waiting for the reality show cameras.
Sure.
I'm waiting for her to say, the reason why I am laughing at all of your jokes is because I am lonely because I have full-blown AIDS. I'm waiting for something like that. Because I'm looking around thinking this is a practical joke. This girl, who's a little older, but she is so unbelievably hot, so well put together. Blonde with the straightened hair and very thin and a gorgeous face. That I'm thinking to myself, A, why are you dating online? Makes no sense. Why you can get anybody anywhere anytime? Why are you dating online? And even more perplexing, why are you going out with me? And why are you laughing at my jokes?
And we're going to take callers now. Caller 1.
And by the way, and then we'll move on. And by the way, this date just happened like an hour ago.
Oh my!
So, walking to her car.
Sure.
And it's a first date.
Yeah.
So I'd say goodbye by giving her a hug. So we're about to say goodbye, and I'm going to give her a kiss on the cheek. That's fine. First date went well, kiss on the cheek. It's very innocent. That's totally fine. And I can tell she's starting to go for the lips. Like she wants to kiss on the lips of the first date. But it just confused me so much that a girl this hot would even want to know my name and not throw a drink at me, that I somehow was too surprised that she would go for the lips that I wound up veering to the left
one of those
into
awkward
some
moments.
sort of a lippy cheek thing.
Oh, that's great.
It's not great.
Oh, that's great. It's like an awkward moment.
It was a lippy.
It was like a kind of half. It was one of those.
It was a lippy cheek thing.
It was a
because I was ready for the cheek. Fine, first date went well. That's cool. It's all good.
Was there like kind of a half pat, half hug, a little bit distant?
No, the hug was cool. The hug was cool. But it was the fact that she was literally coming towards me with her lips, and the fact is that she's
brilliant.
so freaking hot that I couldn't wrap my head around the idea that she'd want to kiss me after an hour.
You can't even stage that on a sitcom.
That I just went for the cheek, and it became a lippy cheek thing, and then now we're done.
That's brilliant.
And then I came here. And now we're recording.
Well, we got a lot to do. We got a lot of titles to cover. We got some VoxBox action this week. Yes, we do. And I want to start off with just a few things. Mark, you're going to tell people about the swag that we got this week. Here, nice little white box.
Ooh,
tell people about that swag.
Ooh, is this food?
Tell people. Mark is opening the white box.
I don't know what this is.
He doesn't know what it is.
I don't.
He's opening the white box. He's pulling out the materials. There's a piece of paper, a folded piece of paper. What does it say? What is it, Mark?
Looks like a pen operating instructions to record.
Yes.
Looks like this is what it says.
Yes.
Looks like a pen operating instructions to record. This is obviously Japanese or possibly Chinese.
It's Chinese.
What is this? Is this a pen that records audio? Why is that funny? That's cool.
Oh my gosh.
It is from it's from Ghost Protocol.
It's a Ghost Protocol piece of swag.
So what does it do?
Somehow it's a pen that you plug into your computer. I really don't know what it's supposed to do. It's got a USB cable. It's a pen that comes with a USB cable. And the instructions to record looks like the pen operating.
Yeah, but the problem is that how do you activate where's the pen?
The instructions. I don't know. I don't even know if it functions. The instructions are priceless.
There's no pen.
No, I'm just going to give you step 1 of the instructions. In closes down and under the readiness for action. Presses the button short according to the paper's switch. Enters the corresponding condition. Photographs pattern or video recording pattern. So I think it's a camera. I don't know what.
Now here's the thing. I don't know what this is. It just looks like a fountain pen.
I think it's a camera.
Can I potentially break this?
In photographs under the pattern, the blue lamp is bright. Presses the button short. Carries on the photograph. The yellow light dodges one time. Long according to the button close down. This time allocates move set clock for the pattern selection switch, the video recording pattern. Carries on the video recording immediately. I don't know what any of this means. This is like somebody used Google Translate on a computer that clearly was not prepared for what they were putting into it.
Well, I have now plugged this into my computer. I really have.
Oh, I don't think the people at Paramount even checked with any of this stuff before they sent it out. It just cracks me up. Somebody ordered something sight unseen and thought that would be cool.
Here, you know what?
These instructions are the funniest things I've ever written. It's brilliant. The funniest thing I've ever read, sorry.
I have plug this into my computer,
And-
but nothing seems to be happening. But and also, what the funny thing is that the pen doesn't seem to work. It doesn't seem to be
Who
an
knows?
actual pen.
You'll figure it out over the course of the show.
Well, you
I'm
know
sure.
what? You talk about whatever crap you're going to
A
talk
few
about.
a few other things real quick before we get into the movies. Some very interesting news in DVD acquisitions, by the way. If you didn't hear about it, Gaiam, who basically does a lot of things like, they distribute a lot of other companies. They distribute a lot of stuff from like the Learning Channel and various other companies. Animal Planet, that kind of junk. But they also do exercise videos. They recently acquired Vivendi Entertainment, whole cloth, which is a huge acquisition. And then RLJ, which is the Black Entertainment Television empire, they went out and acquired Image Entertainment and Acorn, which is gargantuan. Because if you remember,
who bought Acorn?
BET, the BET guy, the billionaire.
Oh,
What's his name?
Johnson.
Yeah, that guy.
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson. Whatever his name is. Yeah, he went and acquired Image and Acorn, which is monstrous. I mean, that is just an enormous thing to do. So he's obviously looking at bulking up his empire. So, and Image was, people have tried to buy Image a number of times over the years, and they always resisted. So I think that's a very interesting development. Things are changing every day. Also want to do a shout-out to, on the book front, my dear old Professor Howard Suber, who was one of the very first pioneers of audio commentaries back in the early days of Criterion Laserdiscs. Howard Suber did a number of their very, very best commentaries. Howard has his second book out, and it is terrific. It is called Letters to Young Filmmakers, Creativity and Getting Your Films Made. And over the years, Howard has saved a lot of the letters, if not most or all of the letters that he has received and the letters the replies that he has sent back, with questions dealing with all kinds of issues and how you get jobs in the business and how do you deal with this problem and that problem. And he's put them into some of the best ones into this book, and it is really, really good stuff. It is not snarky. It is, Suber is a very smart, witty guy, and he has a way of making things that might otherwise be dry and very inside baseball feel incredibly accessible and really quite sharp. So I highly recommend this to anybody who's interested in the business, who wants a light shown on the kind of some of the seamier aspects of the business, the more difficult parts of the business. Just as a quick sample, I want to read a good one here.
By the way, I gave up on this pen.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Although, according to the instructions, when is recording, if this time electric quantity is insufficient, the machine will preserve the video recording content first. You know what? That almost made sense.
We're running out of time here. Hurry it up, Kaiser. It's not going to work. Quick thing here. This is on conflict. Howard, if everybody knows that film is a collaborative business, why is there so much conflict? And he writes back, and of course the names are all changed. Dear Julie, imagine that Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man are brought together in the same room and are told that the city they are in is under attack from some really bad guys. What would their reactions be? Superman, here, let me do it. Batman, no, let me do it. Spider-Man, that's not the way to do it, you incompetent boobs. Here's how it should be done. When you gather a bunch of heroes together, you're guaranteed to have conflict because each one knows he's a hero and expects to take the lead. Artists are heroes of a different kind. Just ask them. And the bigger the artist, the bigger the ego, and the more difficulty they have genuinely collaborating. And, of course, that letter goes on much longer. But it's that kind of stuff. Suber is he's a prince. He's a great professor and a very, very smart media analyst. He knows this business inside out and upside down. And I could not recommend a book more highly. I really couldn't. So that is Howard Suber's Letters to Young Filmmakers, Creativity and Getting Your Films Made. It's from Michael Wiese Productions. They do a lot of film-related stuff, and you should be able to find that just about anywhere, especially on Amazon. So go for it. All right, Mark. Let's get some. I want to get some animated stuff out of the way. We've had this piling up for a number of weeks. I'm going to blow through this real quickly, as quickly as I possibly can. Blu-ray DVD combo, Justice League Doom. This is one of those DC Universe animated original movies. You know what? It's actually really well written, the animation. I'm a little tired of. I wish they'd put a little more work into the animation. I'd even be willing to settle for a little bit less work on the script, even though the script is good. But sometimes this stuff feels like it just should be, I don't know, sharper. But anyway, a lot of cool extras on here. Blu-ray exclusives, mostly featurette stuff. And if you're a DC fan, you'll absolutely love it. Also, Beavis and Butthead are back, in case you haven't heard. And we have the Volume 4 Blu-ray And I got to admit, it's just as funny as it always was. I am so grateful to Mike Judge for doing this. And even though I don't particularly like all the music commentary, which I realize is sort of the whole point of it, the fact that they're back now in kind of a post-internet or a mid-internet phase gives them all kinds of opportunities to really just unleash that satirical stupidity that we love so much. So that's really cool. If you are also a fan of Wallace and Gromit, as I am, we have the complete 6-part series, Wallace and Gromit's World of Invention. And this is terrific. I didn't even know that this existed. This is, and there's a lot of live-action stuff here, actually. This is a really kind of a cool series. It's not, like, stupid or anything. This isn't, like, for kids. This is for adults. And this is really, really very cool. It's all about the cool inventions that are out there. I mean, you're going to kind of be blown away by some of this stuff. It's almost like this deserved to be on A&E or something. So, really, very cool. Check it out. Not enough time to get into it in depth, but highly recommended. I love Minnie. This is from Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. This is just a DVD. It's this stuff is all CGI animated, and I think it's a disgrace to a proud Disney tradition. It doesn't even warrant discussion. Tom and Jerry in the Doghouse. You know what? It's not the best Tom and Jerry stuff, but I guess if you just don't really care about being a completist and you don't really care when the cartoons were made and you just want to put the kids in front of the TV, have them watch something, you'll love it. Homeward Pound Puppies. This was originally seen on a channel that I've never even heard of called Hub. You ever heard of Hub? What the hell's Hub?
I have heard of Hub.
What is Hub?
It's a TV channel.
I don't know what this is. I mean, it's cool animation. It's not very sophisticated, but it's kind of, it's cute. But seriously, I've never heard of Hub. I was totally blindsided by that.
Well, it's a digital satellite. It's a digital tiered. It's a Discovery Channel.
It's channel 7,927. That's
very
what
well
is.
Could be.
Yeah, it probably is.
But it's obviously for kids.
Well, I don't have Discovery. I don't have. What is it? Would you say? What network is it on? It's a satellite thing. Satellite thing.
It's digital tiered and
Direct
satellite.
It's DirecTV.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm a Fios person. Screw them.
It's owned by Discovery.
All right. Well, this is apparently this is from Hasbro via Shout Factory or Shout Kids, which is their kids line. So anyway, cute dogs, nicely animated. One of my all-time favorite cartoons when I was a kid is finally out in the complete collection. Tennessee Tuxedo and His Tales.
He will not fail.
Oh, Tennessee Tuxedo was the best. And it's really rudimentary animation if you look at it now. But look, you remember who the voice of Tennessee Tuxedo was?
Of course, it was Don Adams.
That's right. Don Adams. You can't go wrong. Don Adams rules. And this was another one. It was like this was for Don Adams what Mr. Magoo was for
Jim Backus.
For Jim Backus. They were known as Thurston Howell and Maxwell Smart, but they had their cartoon voices as well. And this is great. Chumley is the walrus that hangs out with Tennessee Tuxedo, so there's a whole Antarctica environmental subtext to this. It's a global warming thing before there was global warming, you see. Great Tennessee Tuxedo featurette on here. There's commentaries with some of the voice actors. A lot of fun. And you'll be amazed at how many of these voices you actually recognize. There are really 70 cartoons total in this box set. Great, from Shout Factory as well. And a lot of famous voices that you're going to recognize. A lot of classic sitcom people. Let's blow through some of these real quickly. Centurions, the original miniseries. This is a Warner Brothers thing. This is kind of one of those Filmation deals, semi kind of a spin-off from some anime ideas. Not so great in hindsight, I got to admit. You really feel like it's an American attempt to do one of those kind of futuristic, spacey, human-robot cyborg fusion things that anime does so incredibly well and confusingly, and it doesn't really work quite so well. But as a nostalgia piece, it's not bad for those who remember it. We also have the animated series, Season 1, Part 2 of Mad. This is from Cartoon Network, the spin-off of the Mad comic book, and 13 episodes. It's fine. It's I don't think it's as funny as they think it is, but it certainly has a following. PBS Kids, Arthur's Travel Adventures, 8 more adventures in this show that I just find almost incredibly it's almost paralyzingly dumb, I think. But some of that stuff, the PBS animated stuff, really, I think at a certain point, some of it really is dumbed down for kids, and I wish they wouldn't do that. I got 3 Nickelodeon titles here: Danny Phantom, Season 2, Part 1, Rocko's Modern Life, Season 2, and The Angry Beavers, Season 3, Part 1. All of this is very, very disturbed, twisted stuff. Now, Danny Phantom is a little bit more anime, a little bit more accessible, a little bit more kind of in the Disney vein, but it's all really kind of extreme. It all has that kind of Ren and Stimpy influence that I think is good if it's done right, if it's crickfalusi. If it's not, it feels just a tad derivative. Peep in the Big Wide World. If you're a fan of that public television series, that's also one that I think is a little bit too dumbed down for kids, but they got a couple new titles, Finders Keepers and Bringing Spring. Frankly, I know kids with coloring books who do better animation, but that's just me. You okay, Mark? You hanging in there?
I'm fine. I'm all good.
I'm getting through it. I swear I'm getting through it. Looney Tunes Show, Season 1, Volume 3. This is also Cartoon Network. You know what? I keep trying to cut this show a lot of slack. Because I'm such an original purist, I know that these aren't the original voices, and you can tell it's not the original. It's not the same effort in the animation that you would expect from the early days of Looney Tunes. It just feels too much like Tiny Toons and all of this more recent faction of Warner Brothers animation, but it keeps the thing going better than I think that Clubhouse Mickey, that mini thing that I talked about earlier. There's no CGI, at least. From Mill Creek, we have the Cookie Jar line, which is a lot of animated television classics that you will recognize. Heathcliff Season 1, Volume 1. That's right, Heathcliff, who we actually like better than Garfield, was momentarily an animated show. That's out again. Gadget Boys, Adventures in History, the complete series. That's one that really fell off of my radar, but that's out again as well. All 26 episodes of this spin-off series from Inspector Gadget. And Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century. Boy, I had totally forgotten about that one as well. That's a 26-episode series that probably should have been buried. That's also from that kind of Filmation-y era, and it ain't so hot. It was an idea run aground. The Cops stuff is still very popular. This is the Best of Cops Volume 2. 10 episodes from that very peculiar series that really looks like they just took some of the Village People and turned them into superheroes. Jace and the Wheeled Warriors. I never watched this originally. This is Volume 1, 32 episodes. This has been out in the complete series before. They're releasing the individual seasons now. This is also very, very anime-inspired. It is what it is. Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, the complete series, 40 episodes. That was a nice idea to take the game and try and turn it into a television series. I was a little too old at the time, but you can also get that out there right now. It looks pretty good, actually. It's not bad animation. And then Archie's Weird Mysteries, the complete series, 40 episodes. All of these are part of the Cookie Jar line from Mill Creek, and this isn't exactly what I remember the Archies doing. Somehow they've taken the Archies and fused them with kind of put them into a Scooby-Doo environment, and that is supposed to pass muster. Doesn't really work for me, but, who am I to judge?
You're a critic, Wade. That's what you do.
I guess so. All right. So there it is. Mark, shall we talk about some documentaries? We got some great docs this week.
We do.
Really good docs.
We do. We have, on Blu-ray, we have Truth or Dare. This is the Madonna documentary from 1991. And it is a self-aggrandizing chronicle of Madonna's 1990 Blonde Ambition tour. And I have to say that although this film is a little flawed only because it is, again, it is just such a 90-minute just piece of self-love. There's still some good stuff in it. You still do see behind the scenes of what it takes to put on a Madonna show every night. And not all
she's on tour again.
Not all of it is totally flattering, huh? She's
on tour again. That MDNA show, which I'm going to try and get tickets to.
You are not. Are you really?
I'm married to a Madonna fan. What can I do? Oh my God. It's not my choice.
Director Alex Kashishian did nothing after this. although he did co-write W.E., which Madonna directed. Anyway, the film has, you know what, the music is fine. I was never a big fan of Madonna's music, but the music sounds good. The Blu-ray looks nice. The movie's a little bit too old to look fully like high-def, beautiful Blu-ray. But if you like Madonna, go for it. I would also highly recommend the next 3 that I'm going to talk about. One is called El Bulli, Cooking in Progress.
Yeah.
Now, there is a restaurant in Spain, which is now closed, actually, for good. It is called El Bulli. What this guy does is the cook, the chef, he closes for 6 months each year. He's only open for 6 months, and he's closed for 6 months. Now, in the 6 months that he's closed, he doesn't go off and ski. He spends 6 months creating the menu for the 6 months that he's open.
See, that's so awesome. That's so awesome.
I
love that because food is art.
This guy,
great.
It really is food is art. It is very innovative, and this guy gets down to like the chemical molecular level in terms of what he serves. It's like
so
literally,
cool.
He will serve like a bubble.
Oh yeah,
and the bubble will be flavored like whatever lime.
Oh.
But he has gone into a laboratory, an actual no-S laboratory with chemicals and molecules and everything.
It's great.
And
I love that.
Totally unique, his approach to food. And by the way, actually, wait, do you know what? In my kitchen right now,
yes,
I have this guy's cookbook.
You have a lime-flavored bubble?
If it's in the cookbook.
Okay.
I have his cookbook.
Nice.
Anyway, the documentary El Bulli, Cooking in Progress, is all about how this guy creates
Sweet.
the menu that he serves 6 months out of the year.
He's the man.
And this is from Kino Lorber. It's really good stuff. It's not on Blu-ray. It's on DVD, unfortunately. But
it's fine. It's cooking. You just follow the instructions.
It is considered, El Bulli, this guy's restaurant, is considered the best restaurant in the world.
Let me tell you why I think it's fine that these cooking titles wind up on DVD instead of Blu-ray. Because more often than not, if you want that stuff in the kitchen while you're cooking, most people don't exactly have Blu-ray players in the kitchen. But you can put your laptop in the kitchen. The laptop probably doesn't have a Blu-ray player. You can put that in your laptop. You can watch it. It can instruct you. You follow the instructions. I'm fine with that being on DVD, not on Blu-ray.
Well, Wade, you're stupid. Okay.
Thank you.
Werner Herzog, as you know,
yes.
has sort of a dual career. One is as a narrative filmmaker, of course, and the other is as a documentarian. And his documentaries are just terrific, even if you can't quite get beyond his narration, like in Grizzly Man. He's still a terrific documentarian. And Into the Abyss is just a great exploration of this triple homicide in Texas. And you talk to death row inmates, and you talk to the families of the victims and the guys who did the crime, and you really get a sense of how these lives were destroyed. And the way Herzog presents the material, it's very no nonsense, not done with any flash. He is not trying to manipulate your emotions. He is simply telling you what it is, and that makes the film very profound. It is called Into the Abyss. It is on Blu-ray, and it is very good. I highly recommend that. I also highly recommend Corman's World. Now, Roger Corman, of course, is one of the great producers, directors.
I love this doc.
It's a terrific documentary. And, Roger Corman, he launched so many careers. It is unbelievable. James Cameron worked on Corman. John Sayles did a lot of writing for Corman.
Well, Jack Nicholson, for crying out loud. I mean,
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson shows up a lot in this documentary, and what's beautiful here is that at one point, talking about his gratitude to Roger Corman, Jack Nicholson actually breaks down. They're interviewing him in his house. He's got the cigarette going. And most of the film, he's quite the raconteur. He's loving it. He's got his belly sticking out, and he's waving his hands, and he's telling these great stories. And at one point, he breaks down. He starts crying, and he puts his hand over his eyes because he doesn't want to be that vulnerable when he's really emoting, when he's not acting. If he were acting, he would have let it all hang out. But here's a moment where Jack Nicholson just wants a little bit of privacy, and he covers his eyes while he cries. It's so revealing. It's so beautiful. Here's the other great thing about this. There's at least one shot. Ray claims that there are two, but there's at least one shot in here from our documentary Schlock. They actually licensed some footage from Ray's in my documentary.
They licensed it.
They did.
Oh, they did.
They did. They licensed it.
They're on the up and up.
I mean, the only shot that I caught in there, it was funny because I remember Ray saying like, "Yeah, some of our stuff's going to show up in this Corman documentary." I was like, "Oh, that's great, cool." Not that I'm going to see a dime out of it, but then I'm watching it and I'm waiting, and like near the end, there's a shot of of when we interviewed Corman. We shot some B-roll of him getting made up on one of his own sound stages. They just used the B-roll. It's like literally a 2-second shot of him sitting in a director's chair getting makeup. It's hysterical.
That shot makes the film.
Yes, it does.
Anyway, William Shatner, Ron Howard, De Niro, Scorsese, Jack Nicholson, as Wade says, all interviewed on this thing, and it's just terrific. Really terrific stuff. Corman's World.
It's terrific.
The last three I have to talk about are all on DVD, not Blu-ray. Teen A Go-Go.
Yeah.
Now, Teen A Go-Go is all about a...
I just like the title.
Huh?
I just like the title. It makes me want to dance.
Yeah, it's funny when you watch something like Teen A Go-Go, which is all about this Beatles show, this Ed Sullivan show from 1964, and also how like once the Beatles appeared on the Ed Sullivan show, everything changed. And teens had new things to listen to, and teenage girls had new guys, had new boys to crush over, and it was an amazing time. And what you don't realize, especially in today, where there's 1,000 different cable channels, and there's iPads and iPhones, and there's Facebook, and there's texting and everything. When you're watching, if it's 1964, and you're watching the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan show. That's just a typical Ed Sullivan show. 73 million people watch that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Except there really is nothing nowadays that gets that many. The Super Bowl, maybe. The Oscars, not really. The finale of American Idol, I guess. So, what I liked about Teen A Go-Go is that it really sort of sets the stage for what rock and roll not only would become, but how these rock and roll fans were sort of activated by watching things like the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan show. And it's great stuff. Teen A Go-Go is really good. It's very nostalgic, and there's a lot of great music. There's not like, I guess they couldn't afford or couldn't license like the super, super great music of that era. But still, there's a lot of good music in it, and it's a great piece of history. Teen A Go-Go. I really love No Subtitles Necessary.
This is a terrific doc. This is really good.
It's called No Subtitles Necessary, Laszlo and Vilmos, two heroes on the road. And, of course, it's called No Subtitles Necessary because Vilmos Zsigmond and Laszlo Kovacs, two of the great cinematographers of all time, they have very heavy accents. So it's a bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And a lot of great interviews on this as well as Laszlo and Vilmos, hit the road and tell you all about how they made it in Hollywood. Karen Black is in this, Peter Bogdanovich, Richard Donner, Peter Fonda.
And by the way, this dovetails with the Corman doc in kind of an interesting way, by way of our film Schlock, because Laszlo came over here and was DP on a lot of early exploitation films, Nudie Cuties, and a lot of stuff like some of Herschel Gordon Lewis's early exploitation stuff before he turned to gore. Laszlo Kovacs was a cinematographer on. So, these all of these, the Peter Bogdanovich, of course, is part of the Corman doc, and this one as well. All of these things, it's the underbelly of cinematic history. We love it.
Speaking of history, the history of Fishbone is chronicled in Everyday Sunshine. Now, the fact that this was narrated by Lawrence Fishburne and the band is Fishbone, don't know if that's like an inside joke or whether Lawrence Fishburne's a huge fan of the band. But anyway, it's all about Fishbone and how they came from South Central, and they played and it takes them all the way up to the punk clubs and obviously playing stages all over the world. And they've been around for a long time, these guys, like 25 years. So it's a great chronicle. There's a lot of great vintage footage in it. There's an audio commentary with the filmmakers and also by the band. There's lots of deleted scenes. There's lots of great music. So if you're a Fishbone fan, Everyday Sunshine should be absolute and total required viewing.
You may have heard that we're the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, which I think technically takes place tomorrow is the 100th anniversary. Anyway, we got a thing here. This is kind of a weird docudrama deal from BFS called Waking the Titanic, and it's specifically about the connection of the Titanic to this Irish town. And it was April 15th, right, when the Titanic sank? 15th? We're a few days away. Anyway.
Wasn't it April?
Well, this is specifically this one Irish town that had 3 villagers who survived the tragedy, and there are a ton of there's almost
April 15th.
April 15th, so there it is. Anyway, there's a whole ton of people who are descended from those people, and this basically focuses on them, and there's a lot of reenactment in here, but it's not James Cameron stuff. It's not even really very good in reenactment, but the story is interesting, and it's nice that they just decided we're not going to tell the story of the Titanic. We're going to focus on specifically this one town, these people, and their descendants, which is quite nice. We also have a terrific doc that is not perfect, but when it's great, it's really great. Charlotte Rampling, The Look, a self-portrait through others. This is from Kino Lorber. It is on DVD and on Blu-ray. I would recommend it on Blu-ray because so many of the films that she was in that are shown here, the representation is just better in Blu-ray. It really is. And they really paid a lot of attention to making sure that the film clips look right. It's a little bit pretentious. If you're familiar with Charlotte Rampling, you know she's made movies in English and in French. She's lived in France better part of her life now. She's just one of those cool actresses from the 60s and 70s that's just still super cool, even though she's in her senior years. But she's become kind of an icon for a certain kind of ice queen. She's sort of like what Lauren Bacall was, except Lauren Bacall is a has-been, and her golden days of being an ice queen are long gone back in the 30s and 40s, but somehow Charlotte Rampling has kept it going in her whole career. The one part of the film that's a little cheesy is when she talks about Max Mon Amour, the Nagisa Oshima film, as being the best script that she ever read. Have you ever seen Max Mon Amour?
I have not.
It's a movie in which she's a woman who has an affair with an ape, which is basically just a guy in an outfit. It's like a guy in an ape suit.
I love it already.
It's a creepy movie. It's very 70s. It's very groovy. I don't highly recommend it, even though it's Nagisa Oshima. The Swell Season. If you are one of the many, many, many people who fell madly and hopelessly in love with the film Once, you will thoroughly...
Me, I did.
It's great, right?
I love Once.
Well, this is a documentary that kind of goes along with that, because this is, you know, the two who are in the film, Glenn Hansard and Marketa Inglova, they actually became both professionally and personally involved, largely as a result of being cast in that film. And this is about the 2-year world tour that followed that, and it's about really what happened to them during that time. And it's if you look at the two things together, you see how art imitates life, life imitates art, and I would really highly recommend this as kind of it almost should be a special feature on a special edition of Once, frankly. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but this is from Docurama Films, and it's really good, and I you know, it's not just about these two people, but it's about a particular lifestyle and the way that fame affects you and the way that celebrity affects you and the demands of that can kind of consume you. It's quite good. Chasing Madoff is on DVD and on Blu-ray as well. You really can get everything you need to get out of this either way. It's from MPI. It doesn't demand to be seen on Blu-ray, but it's nice that it is there. This also contains a lot of reenactments that are a little bit cheating, but never mind. It doesn't matter in the final analysis because this is based on the book. And I started to read the book and I got too angry and I couldn't even finish the book. The book goes into much more excruciating detail. This it'll make you so angry you'll want to strangle somebody. It is effectively the story of the securities analysts, specifically Harry Markopoulos, who's kind of a math whiz at one of these securities firms, who first discovered that Madoff was ripping people off. And all this movie is about is how year after year after year after year, Madoff continues to rip people off, and Markopoulos is like a voice crying in the wilderness, trying to get people to realize what's going on. And in the end, nobody listens to him. He couldn't get the New York Times to publish his story. He couldn't get the Wall Street Journal to publish the story. He couldn't even get the Securities and Exchange Commission to follow up on legitimate evidence. He had it all. He gave it to everybody. He'd proved it. And nobody paid attention because nobody would believe it. It was like the facts didn't matter. It couldn't be. Bernie Madoff wouldn't do that to anybody. It was just a total and complete failure at every level. Governmental, news media, everything. The whole system failed. It's so frustrating. And it never got fixed. And Markopoulos is very philosophical about it at the end. He's like, why are you giving me this award? I didn't actually save anybody. Nobody listened to me. And that's the name of the book, Nobody Listened. But the documentary is Chasing Madoff, and it's just first rate if you really want to piss yourself off. And then last documentary today, before we do some Vox Box and then wrap up with some awesome movie titles, Being Elmo, A Puppeteer's Journey. I love this documentary. Mark, did you see Being Elmo?
Totally.
Oh, my gosh.
It's the Elmoiest.
People may not realize this, but Elmo is a middle-aged black man. It's the greatest story ever.
You just gave it away.
You know what? He is so awesome. It's the greatest story ever. Kevin Clash is the voice of Elmo. He's a guy who grew up. He was an inner-city kid from Baltimore and was a total outcast when he was a kid, made his own puppets. Everybody made fun of him. And this is the story of how this determined, ferociously ambitious guy who always said he was going to be a puppeteer, how he wound up not just reinventing Elmo, because he didn't create Elmo. Elmo was a failed puppet. You know that. Elmo was a failed puppet. They couldn't figure it out. Henson's people could not get the right voice. They couldn't get the right persona. He walked in and he turned Elmo into the most popular Muppet of all time. And he is now executive producer of Sesame Street, the job he always dreamed of having. It almost brings me to tears. It's so beautiful. And then, his daughter's birthday party in the film, mop me off the floor. This is such a beautiful movie. I cannot recommend it highly enough.
Lame.
He's Elmo.
Just kidding.
When you see that voice come out of this 6'4" middle-aged black man, it is a moment that is both weird and just somehow like the American dream crystallizing on screen.
It's like suddenly Tyler Perry does Elmo.
It's just well, let's draw the line there.
Let's do new movies. Wait, come on.
Vox Box.
Oh, really?
We got Vox Box.
It's Vox Box.
Hello, Digigods. This is George. I was listening to your podcast and was shocked to hear for a second time a mispronunciation. It was par for the course to hear Mr. Kaiser make the mistake a few months back, but when I heard Mr. Major also make the same error, I nearly dropped my snifter of saurian brandy and exclaimed, "Oh my!" I simply could not let this stand. I was aghast when I heard reference to the HBO series as Treem. Shatner might get away with saying sabotage instead of sabotage. He is Canadian after all. But Treem? Mein Gott. So I want both of you to now repeat after me in unison. Treme. Treme. No, not Trelane. That was the Squire of Gothos, you ninnies. Treme. Now that correction has been made, please continue on with the show, and remember, yesterday is history, tomorrow a mystery, right now is a gift, which is why it is called the present. George out.
Yep, that's our fan George, Mark. Keeping us honest.
I'm happy to be wrong anytime as long as it results in Vox Box submissions like that.
Yeah, why not? Totally. All over that. All right, Mark, new movies.
No. Oh, there's no song for that. No song for that.
No song for that. No song for that at all. You know what? We talked about some of these these actress title compilations last week, and there's another one this week. And this is Nicole Kidman 4-film collection, also from Lionsgate. This one's not bad. I got to tell you, all 4 of these are totally legit. There are no ringers here. If you remember, we explained this as saying that, well, now that Miramax is distributing a lot of their stuff through Lionsgate is thinking, why don't we just do a little mashup of everything from our library and their library and see if we can't get some extra traction. But you know what? Here are the films included in the 4-film collection. Cold Mountain, not my favorite film, but it won an Oscar, and she's good in it. Rabbit Hole, which is friggin' brilliant. That was one of my favorite films of the year before last.
Yep, good movie.
Oh, so good. The Others, which is sort of like, second-tier ghost movie. I mean, it's good. It's well done. Very nicely written and directed by Alejandro Amenabar, who I like a lot. And Dogville, which I can't stand, but I know a lot of people love it, and it won the Cannes Film Festival. So, go get your friggin' Dogma on and Lars von Trier madness. But anyway, all 4 of those in one set from Lionsgate, the Nicole Kidman 4-film collection. And oh gosh, you talk about that.
Well, Wade, we have the self-immolation of Cameron Crowe in his career continues apace with We Bought a Zoo. We Bought a Zoo is a very cloying and cutesy. You know what? I never thought I would ever see Matt Damon try to be so just sincere.
He's a dad now. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's just,
he got bit by the fatherhood bug.
You know what? He just looks. It's just so unctuous. I just don't like seeing him in this mode. I don't think it's natural for him.
Agree.
I don't think he's good in it. Anyway, the movie's about Matt Damon plays a father of a couple kids, and they decide they need to change, so they move into a zoo. Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy people in the zoo, including Scarlett Johansson.
Isn't this allegedly a true story?
You know what? Every time a movie says based on a true story, you know it's a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
Anyway, we bought a zoo. It's on Blu-ray. Looks good. It's got 3 discs. One is the movie, which includes an audio commentary with Cameron Crowe and the editor, and some deleted scenes, a gag reel. But again, this is really, you know what? It's for kids. I guess it's for kids. It's not very good. I don't know what happened to Cameron Crowe. He lost his edge. The humanity that he showed in his earlier films are now coming across as totally artificial.
Lame.
Speaking of lame,
hardly anything but.
Wait, there was a movie.
Stella.
Exactly. A Streetcar Named Desire is out in a beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful Blu-ray, a 60th anniversary Blu-ray from the good people at Warner Brothers, who treat their classic films right. This movie was nominated for 12 Academy Awards, and including Best Picture, won 4. And this is where Marlon Brando became Marlon Brando. He became that method guy that just blew everybody away. He was the guy just exploded, especially considering when you consider the actors who came before him.
Stop. Keep talking.
When you consider the actors and the acting styles that came before him, you realize how much Marlon Brando blew everybody away and was just a smoldering sexuality and realism and just method brilliance, and he was just absolutely he just blew people away back then in the 50s. Wait, stop that.
How the hell do women do this?
Put on pearls? I don't know. But
Jeez,
there's a very special woman who wore pearls, who we'll talk about in a minute. Anyway, this is a great. This has got that little book thing, little digipack bookie thing that they do with the packaging, and it includes a commentary by Carl Malden. Fantastic. Before he died. There's a feature-length profile of Elia Kazan, which is terrific. Even though I've always been a little bit hot and cold on Elia Kazan, only because we all know what Kazan did during the blacklist, and I've always been a little bit conflicted about that. But anyway, there's 5 documentaries in it. Again, the commentary. This is great stuff. It's a must-buy. Streetcar Named Desire from the good folks at Warner Brothers. The transfer looks great. It has never looked better. And there's also a Blu-ray book.
We got some swag for our next title, which I am actually wearing now. Seriously, Mark, how do women wear these?
You're wearing garters?
No, I'm wearing a pearl choker. It's also really not very comfortable, so I'm going to see if I can take this thing off. Jeez, seriously, man, makeup isn't bad enough in high heels, and you got to put this crap on.
See, women do all of this just to appease men, just to make men want them.
My
you know what's funny is that I want to be the guy who can show up to like a club, like the hottest club in LA, in jeans and a t-shirt. Like when handsome guys show up to a club in jeans and a t-shirt, they look like they're the hippest, coolest guys ever.
You know how
when I show up to a club with jeans and a t-shirt, they think I'm homeless.
You know how you know these are real pearls? Because of that one right there. It's like that's one that got squashed in the artificial pearl machine.
Oh my God,
it's hysterical.
Well,
we're of course talking about a phony pearl choker that they sent us in hopes that we would say nice things about the Blu-ray DVD combo pack of The Iron Lady, which won Meryl Streep her second Best Actress Oscar, her third Oscar overall, her first in like 20 years or something.
This movie's terrible.
You know what? Here's the thing. I think she's great in this movie.
Yes.
I don't think the movie is very good. I think the movie I think it would flop if not for her. And I think the actress who plays the young Margaret Thatcher is also very good.
She's good too.
She was very good too. But the movie it's not really anything other than just kind of a greatest hits look at the episodes from Margaret Thatcher's life that we all know.
That's the problem. It just goes from big big event to big event.
It doesn't really give you much insight into who she was and what made her. It just really feels like it has to kind of hit those beats. And I'm more interested in what happens between the beats, personally. But that being said, look, she's great. I mean, just as an acting clinic, if you want to kind of excuse the movie, and this was, by the way, directed by her Mamma Mia director, Phillida Lloyd, who
she is horribly
really
untalented. I mean, honestly, Mamma Mia was so poorly directed. I don't know where the camera was. I just hated it.
Well, anyway, a lot of featurettes on here, not much else. But again, on Blu-ray, the nice thing about the Blu-ray is that you really see just how good the makeup work is, which also won an Oscar. I mean, the makeup is just phenomenal, and this is the makeup guy who's been with Meryl Streep for almost her whole career. So ever since Stage, when she started on Stage, so there is a relationship between makeup artist and person, and you see how good it is in the Blu-ray. It really catches that the essence of that.
So basically, The Iron Lady, which is a terrible film, won 2 Oscars.
Yes, but it won kind of deserving Oscars. I mean, Best Actress and the makeup for the two people who've been working together forever. The Rank Collection is an ongoing release series from VCI. These are, of course, all of the great British Rank films from the 1950s and 60s, primarily, that VCI has licensed, and they release a number of these every month, some obviously better than others. But Carve Her Name with Pride is a surprisingly really good film that features an incredible performance by an actress who's largely forgotten, Virginia McKenna. And this was made in 1958. It's one of those really great kitchen sink realism, angry young men, English new wave films from that particular period when Richard Lester and Tony Richardson and a lot of others were really dominating the landscape. And Lindsay Anderson, making stuff like If. And so a lot of the films that weren't necessarily at the very peak of that movement didn't necessarily make it through, but this is a really good one, and it's kind of got one leg in the previous generation. It's about a woman who volunteers to be part of the Special Operations Executive and goes to work with the resistance in France. And it's an unusually gritty film for 1958, especially considering how kind of glorified those World War II films were. But it's not a propaganda film, and it's particularly moving, and it's a true story. So that, if you want to see what Virginia McKenna was all about back in the day, I don't know what happened to her as an actress, but she was terrific. And also quite good is another film featuring Virginia McKenna, this one with Peter Finch, called A Town Like Alice. This one is a little bit better known. This was made 2 years earlier in 1956. It's based on a Neville Shute novel called Moving Novel, oddly enough. And this is not as good as the other one, but Virginia McKenna also incredible in the film, and Peter Finch just absolutely magnetic. This one is a little bit more of a traditional war film. Takes place in 1941 in British Malaya, and this is a little bit more World War II boilerplate, but really, really very, very good. Just in a traditional sense. But the interesting difference between the two films is just within 2 years how much the style of British filmmaking changed. And so I would recommend both of these. Really, really good films.
Wade, Meg Ryan. There was a time when Meg Ryan was America's sweetheart, and then we got sick of her. Because she's horrible.
She turned 40.
And then she got plastic surgery.
Someday.
Kate Leopold is a film from, it was an early film from James Mangold, who, of course, would go on and do 3:10 to Yuma and a couple other terrific films, Walk the Line, I think, right? He did Walk the Line, didn't he?
Yes. Yes, he did.
Anyway, what's her name? Meg Ryan plays this executive who lives in New York, and she's living the glass ceiling, cutthroat, corporate, whatever the hell it's called. And her boyfriend, played by Liv Schreiber, opens up this portal in time, and she winds up going back to 1867, where she meets Hugh Jackman.
This is the worst movie ever. It really is a horrible film.
They're
just blowing this out on Blu-ray.
Well,
you know what I think is interesting is that look at the cover of the two. That's the standard romantic comedy.
Floating head.
The floating heads.
The big heads. Well,
they just have the genders reversed.
Well, these are two Miramax Blu-rays, of course, that are being released through Lionsgate. And the other one, besides Kate Leopold, which is not very good, is Bounce with Ben Affleck and Gwyneth Paltrow. And Anyway, Ben Affleck is this ad exec, and he loves the ladies, and he winds up with who cares? I mean, come on, seriously, folks, stop it. Just stop it.
We're going to wrap up with some old classics, some funky classics. The Warner Archive Collection, which is very hard to find online. I think Amazon is carrying a lot of these now, but you normally have to go to warnerarchive.com to find these titles. We got a couple of Jim Brown films. You know, Jim Brown was the man. He and Fred Williamson and a few others, they held it down during the blaxploitation era. And these are kind of more mainstream blaxploitation films from the era, which means they were studio films, not necessarily independent. The first one here is The Slams, which is a really interesting film because of well, first of all, it was produced by Roger Corman's brother, Gene Corman, for MGM at the time. It's now in the Warner Library as a result, but it's actually a particularly gritty film. And Jim Brown, after his football career, turns out to be a surprisingly good actor. This is 1973, and it's a bit of a kind of a heist crime thing. But what's really interesting is who directed it. Mark, who directed it? Tell us who directed it.
Jonathan Kaplan.
Jonathan Kaplan. What's Jonathan Kaplan doing now? He does television.
He's doing television.
He's doing a lot of television. It also did a great film called Heart Like a Wheel back in the 80s, but got rave reviews for Bonnie Bedelia. But Jonathan Kaplan really was, I think, an incredibly underrated director at the time. And this look at what it means to be a criminal, a convict, especially a black man in the 1970s, and to kind of face a lot of those societal divisions and obstacles. Jim Brown captures a certain thing that is just, it's primal and it's moving, and he's a much better actor than anybody ever gave him credit for. And I'm just saying, I'm still waiting for Three the Hard Way to show up on DVD. I really am. Jim Brown and Fred Williamson and Jim Kelly, for crying out loud. The next film is Tick, 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 with ampersands between that. This is also a Jim Brown film, also starring George Kennedy and Frederick March. Boy, there's an interesting combo, isn't it? This is from the late 1960s, 1968-69 time frame. Not such a good film. This is a little bit more of a kind of almost an exploitation attempt to do something in the vein of In the Heat of the Night. The director is Ralph Nelson, who was a much better director when he did Lilies of the Field. And for whatever reason, this just the whole Jim Brown plays a sheriff here, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel quite right. It doesn't. The whole thing doesn't quite gel together, but still, I enjoyed Jim Brown in it. George Kennedy is appropriately hyperbolic. You can totally see why he wound up doing Naked Gun movies, and it has a bit of a cult following. So if you're a Jim Brown fan, I'd say Tick, Tick, Tick is strictly an also-ran, but The Slams is a great movie.
So says you, Wade. Now,
so says I.
Are we wrapping this thing up?
We're wrapping this up. Last two titles here, real quickly. This is from Olive Films through their release deal with Paramount. A couple of old Paramount films that were going to slip between the cracks that they decided to pick up and get out there. One is a George Stevens film, of all things, called Something to Live For, which has a great cast. Joan Fontaine, Ray Milland, Teresa Wright. Kind of a forgotten melodrama. Should have been released properly long before it. This is from 1952, and It's if you like The Lost Weekend, which Ray Milland won an Oscar for, I think you'll really love this. And of course, I always just love Joan Fontaine and Teresa Wright anyway. I can't get enough of either of them. And then the other one is No Man of Her Own, starring Barbara Stanwyck and John Lund. Barbara Stanwyck was sort of the noir princess for a long time, and a lot of the films that she did just never really got their proper due. This is one of them from 1950. And this is really one of those classic, forgotten Barbara Stanwyck film noirs that if you're a film noir fan, this has got to be on your shelf. So definitely check that one out as well. No Man of Her Own, both of those from Olive Films by way of an output deal with Paramount. And with that, Mark, we are done. So
we're done.
We're done. So once again, what words of wisdom do you have for the online daters out there? What have you learned this last week?
Die alone.
So, Mark, for people who are out there using Match.com, using JDate, who are
I feel sad for you. I'm your competition.
Part of your community, what's going on out there this week? What should they look for?
Actually, you know what? Here's a piece of advice.
Yes.
When you're looking for women online.
Yes.
And women they have all sorts of photographs.
Sure.
They have 2, 3, 4, 5 photographs. The worst photograph is what they really look like.